lunchtime lives. Hope you're all well and good. Just wait for a few people to join. So this is obviously for AA students, and it's controls. Control testing comes up all the time. I want you to realise as well that this isn't a question about deficiencies in controls. This is going to be a question about what is the controls, explain the controls, and then test the controls. Comes up all the time. So it'll be really useful lunchtime live for us all. Okay, so are we ready? Let's get on with it then. Won't be too long as usual. Try and keep it as quick as I possibly can. If you do have any questions during the session, just do put them in the comments and hopefully we'll pick them up on our system here. Okay, let us begin. So, direct controls. In this question, what we're going to have to do first of all is identify the controls. And to identify a control, it's really easy. You basically copy it from the scenario. So a really easy mark. But just to explain what it is, it's a procedure that prevents errors. And that error is part of a system. So it could be part of sales systems, purchasing system, payroll system, not solar system, but you know what I mean. So yeah, this question is going to be about sales systems. It's really easy. And just the examiner makes the point of, makes the point, first of all, it's half a mark for identification, but make sure that the direct control is clearly defined and complete, and we'll see it really is. So let's go straight to the question. December 24, are you all strapped in and ready? So, the question said, identify and explain 3 direct controls. Now, first off, there was more than 3 direct controls in the question. That always happens. But as soon as you've got your 3 done, stop there. Don't do 4. Pointless. Okay, even though there would be potentially 4. 3 direct controls. Now, this says identify and explain. We're just looking at the identification at the moment. So here is the sales system. And it says business customers from this company can apply for credit through the credit control department. Yeah, okay. And after performing necessary checks, the credit control department sets a credit limit, which is then authorised and regularly reviewed by the finance director. Obviously, that's a control they've put in. They said, look, what has to happen is we need to do some checks on the customer before they become a customer that we give credit to. And then we need to regularly review it. So there's a couple of controls in there, isn't there? So this is the examiner's answer. A credit check is performed by the credit control department on all new customers applying for a credit, after which a credit limit is set by the finance director, which is regularly reviewed. Easy. You're just copying out the question again, aren't you? Okay. Not tricky at all. Don't overcomplicate it. And there's half a mark in the bag for you. Okay. So far, so good. That's the identification. What we've now got to go and do is the explanation. So when you come to explain a direct control, you've got to ask yourself, what potential error is being prevented? So, i.e., why is this control there? What potential error are they trying to prevent? That's all you've got to write. Do not write to prevent fraud or error, because all direct controls are to prevent fraud or error. What you've got to be is specific to the error. And if you are, you'll get yourself another simple half mark, which we all quite like. Okay, so we're now to the explanation part. We've got to explain this. You've got to think to yourself. So it just takes some thinking. You can't just remember it from a textbook. Why are they performing a credit check on all new customers? Think to yourself, why do they perform a credit check on all new customers? So that we know that they're going to pay us, so that our receivables will be recoverable. Okay, so let's see what the examiner said. Credit check has been performed, yeah. And the examiner said the credit check helps to ensure that credit is only given to customers who are likely to pay, so receivables are more likely to be recoverable. You can't learn that from a textbook, but it's pretty much common sense, isn't it? That's half a mark. There's also this bit about being regularly reviewed as well. So let's have a look at that. So the credit limit is set. It's regularly reviewed. And so therefore that ensures credit limits don't get too high because you're regularly reviewing it, which could lead to bad debts, overvaluation of receivables. Remember, these are the perfect answers, but I'm sure in the exam, as long as you stay calm and cool and collected, you'll be able to get there, I think. Okay, so we've done the identification and explanation of one control. We're going to look at 3. Okay, and then we're going to go on to part 2. And part 2 is all about testing these controls. Probably the hardest bit, and that's why it's worth a full mark, actually. So you've got to then say to yourself, how can I verify whether the direct control operates effectively? So how can I get evidence that the direct control is working? Again, you can't learn these, and you shouldn't want to learn them. It should be logical. So I'm going to give you a bit of help, though. Say what piece of evidence you will get. Say what document, what person, whatever you're looking at. Never say check, because that will make you veer away from being specific. So never say check. Try not to anyway. It's not the end of the world. But these are the sorts of things you're going to do. You're going to inspect instead of check documents. That's the evidence. You're going to observe instead of check processes. That's the evidence. Or you're going to reperform instead of check the control. Okay? So they're the ideas. I've got another little helping thing for you in a minute, but let's get on with the question. So this is for 1 mark. So here then, we've got to test this control.
Battery 80%.
Thank you. My battery is at 80%. A credit check is performed. Yeah. So how are we going to prove it? So let's just have a look at the examiner's answer. Inspect the document. So inspect, notice the word, not check. What? The documentation. So inspect the documentation in the credit application file for a sample of customers to confirm that appropriate credit checks have been performed before giving credit. Kind of makes sense, isn't it? You know, they said a credit check is performed, so we've got to think to ourselves, how do I know that this has been performed? I know. I'll go and have a look at the credit applications, inspect them, and is there anything there that tells me an appropriate credit check has been taken place? Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, 1 mark. Also, what you could have said is because the credit limit, this is another control, isn't it? The credit limit is regularly reviewed by the finance director, which is good. So that gives you a couple of things you can talk about. You can talk about how can I test, how can I verify that it is being regularly reviewed, and how can I verify it is done by the finance director. Now, you're going to get better at this the more questions you do. So what I suggest you do after we've done this lunchtime live is go have a look at some other tests of control questions. We have it on Exam Centre in ACCOWtancy, by the way. Okay, so for a sample of new customers, because we're only talking about new customers here, review for evidence of regular review by the finance director. What else can we say? You know, it's that simple, that straightforward. Okay, but I've said, look, I'm going to look at a sample of new customers and I'm going to look for evidence of regular review by the finance director. Now, I think that's a little bit weak. You know, well, what evidence? So the examiner came up with another one, which I think is quite good as well. Inquire of the people who work in receivables. Inquire of them who, by the way, sets the credit limits and are they reviewed regularly? So just inquire of people also is a test of control. Quite naturally. Okay, so we've done the first one and we're going to do 2 more. We're going to get better and better. Hope you're all okay with it and finding it useful. So very quickly then, identification, basically copy out the scenario, their procedures to prevent an error, they're linked to a system, and all you've got to do is make sure that you only get half a mark for it yet, and make sure that it's clearly defined and complete. Not really much to say about that. So let's get on with the next part of the question. So we're looking at the identification here. So what this says is, look, business customers can actually buy goods by the company's website. And what will happen then is as part of the invoicing process, so sales invoicing process, a member of the finance team matches the details of the online order. So the online order comes from the website and say, well, I've ordered a bottle of water. So what we're going to do is see an online order with a bottle of water, and we're going to check it to the goods dispatch note. So the goods dispatch leaving our office here, leaving our warehouse, should say there's a bottle of water. So I now know the online order agrees with the goods dispatch note, and therefore I can now put in the sales invoice, you, by the way, owe us money for a bottle of water. Okay? Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So that's the control. And just put it in your own words or copy it out. So the answer the examiner gave us was, a member of the finance team matches the details on the online order with the goods delivered note before raising sales invoices based on these documents. Okay, and we know because it's a goods delivered note, it will be signed as well by the customer. So the customer's received it, and so therefore we can invoice them now for this water. Talking of water, I'm thirsty. Half a mark for identification, but it's easy. Now we need to explain it. And if you remember when we explain it, what we've got to think to ourselves is, why are they doing this? What is the potential error that have been prevented? Well, they're doing it to get the sales invoice right, aren't they? So yes, to prevent fraud or error, but all do that. So that would be far too generic as an answer. You've got to always be specific. Okay. So this will help to ensure that customers are invoiced for all goods dispatched to them, and therefore the revenue is complete and accurate. What I want you to notice about that is they said, the examiner's answer said, yes, make sure the invoice is right, which is correct, but there's a reason why you want the invoice to be right. And what the examiner has done is related it to the financial statements, which is quite important. It's a good way of doing it. So that's what I would do if you possibly can. The reason why I want the invoices to be right, or the reason why the client wants the invoices to be right, is to show that the revenue is complete and accurate. Okay? Great. Remember, these are the perfect answers. Keep going then. So we've done our explanation. Now we have to do part B of the question, the tests. How can I verify whether the direct control operates effectively? How can I prove that someone is checking the goods delivered note, the sale, the online order, and to the sales invoice? How can I check that that's doing it? So you've got to say, look, this is literally the evidence that I'll get. I'm going to be specific and not check. And I've given you a bit of help here, even though I've spelt it wrong. Review. So you can review things. You can inquire with people. We've seen that already. You can inspect things. We've seen all that already. We can observe it happening, or we can re-perform the test. So remember, there's lots of different answers that you could come up with this, and the test is 1 mark, not half a mark. Okay, so a test of control for this. Take a sample of online orders, because that's what it started with. Review for evidence that the order was matched to the goods delivered notes. So there might be a little tick or something, or a little authorization scribble or something. And then check the sales invoice details to these documents. Okay? So we're just looking there, we're inspecting the different things, reviewing them. And there's different ways that you could write it out, obviously. Right, on to the final one. Hope you're all still okay. So, identification of this one. This one I thought was quite tricky. So remember, identification is really easy. you'll get it and you'll get half mark in the bag. You're basically copying out the question. So talking of which, here is the question. We're just doing the identification bit here. So let's read it through. And this, by the way, I haven't missed anything out. This is just the way it came up in the actual exam. So each store changes the same price for goods, but there's some customers on the mailing list and they get discount offers on their weekly emails. Now, the only way they can claim that discount is they must show their email at the cash tills, at the cash registers. And on the email is a discount barcode. So what they'll do is they'll scan the barcode, and then that discounts the price that they would have otherwise been charged. So far, so good. So we're only identifying, so we're just going to put that into our own words. Customers must show a promotional email at the cash till, have the discount code scanned to access special discounts. Okay, so that's going to be our little half a mark, really straightforward. Then we get to the explanation, and we remember with the explanation that we're going to think to ourselves, why? What potential error is being prevented here? So it's not to prevent fraud or error ever, because they all do that. You've got to be specific to the error. So yeah, I want you to do some thinking. I thought this was quite a tough one, personally. So customers must show the promotional email. Why? Why must they show it? And the answer's got to be, well, the company doesn't want just everybody having the discount. It's a special for the customer. And the discount code is scanned to access the special discounts, the barcode. So the barcode must be there to make sure that this specific discount is given, so the amount, and that it's only used once, I would guess, as well. So this ensures that discounts are only given to authorised customers. You could have said there, the email customers can only be used once, and it was therefore reduced. See what she's done again. She's added in the effect on the financial statements, reduces the risk of misstatement of revenue through fraud. Okay, because they're making sure that not anybody's getting a discount and changing the discount or whatever. Half a mark, and then you've got to think, right, how do I test it? How can I verify that all that is actually happening? I've got to be really specific, and to help me, I will think of review spelt wrong, inquire, inspect, observe, re-perform. Could be anything, just not check. So how can I verify that this is actually happening, this discount thing is actually working? And there's lots of different ways. This is one that the examiner came up with. Attempt to manually have a discount or amend the discount amount calculated by the system to ensure that the discount level cannot be manipulated. There's loads that you could have said. Okay. That, my friends, would be your 1 mark. Now, I thought the third one was a little bit tricky, and I'm still not really convinced by her answer that much. So if you feel like that in the exam and you think, oh, the first one I'm really good with, third one I'm not, well, you can go on to the fourth one. She always gives you more controls than they're actually needed in the exam. So you can have a quick look through and think, I'm not very good at this. I'm going to move on to the next paragraph, okay? That's when you would move on. But if you were doing it and you think, well, I'm fine with the first 3, do the first 3, get out of there. Otherwise, miss the one out that you think, oh, I don't really know, and look for another. So, you know, it's in your hands. But what I want you to remember is identification, copy it out, explanation, say why, and don't just say to check or, don't just say to prevent fraud or error, be specific to the error, say why, and then testing it, re-perform, inspect, inquire, that sort of thing. Don't use check, and use your common sense, and you'll get there. So all that's left for me to do is to say thank you, and I hope I will see you one day. If you're not already a member of aCOWtancy.com, do leave comments. So I do read them, and Do subscribe, do like. I think that's what you're going to do on YouTube. But yeah, make your comments, because I read them and I want to make this, it's all free, so I want to make this as useful to you as possible. Okay, so just if you do have any comments, now's your time. And at the moment, yeah, we've only got our team commenting. But hopefully you've enjoyed it. We get great feedback from these. So do drop us a line at info@aCOWtancy.com. Come and say hello on the chat box on the site. We're always there to help. So good luck, and I'll see you on the next Lunchtime Live somewhere. Thank you very much.